and welcome to the F&O Show on Bloomberg Quint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. I'm Darshan Mehta. Good morning, Agam.
Good morning, Darshan. I'm Agam Vakil. Here are the top headlines. Indian markets mirror strong global cues. Nifty Sensex rise for the sixth straight day as trade wars concerns ease, volatility declines. And open interest declines in Kajaria Ceramics as traders cover their short positions in the stock futures. Sun Pharma falls the most in 18 months after PTI reports that SEBI is investigating charges of insider trading in the company. And Hero MotoCorp is among the top auto losers today after the two-wheeler maker sales post only a marginal rise in November. Maruti and Tata Motors also post lower sales.
Okay, let's take a look at what the market is doing. The SGX Nifty in the start was indicating that we probably might hit the 11,000 mark in trade, but that's something that has not happened at this point of time. There is traction on the Nifty, no doubt. We are close, we are above the 10,900 mark in trade, but it has come off the highs of the day. Let's pull up and see what the Bank Nifty is doing at this point of time, and we can see that there is a positive traction that's coming in on the Nifty Bank itself, trading at a premium of 66 points, and it's up almost 50 points. Let's take a look at where positions are being taken, and where what we're seeing is the fact that at 11,000 put writers again are writing in trade, but call writers are active also from levels of 10,900 to higher levels, and put writers from 11,000 to lower levels. So 11,000 now becomes the big support that the market, big talking point of the market, whether it will go beyond that or sustain at that level. Let's see what's happening in trade today, and what we can see is that at 10,900 put writers are active, and at higher levels today call writers are active in trade. So that's the broad trend that I'm looking at the market. Agam, what are you seeing?
Well, in terms of changes in open interest, Darshan, clearly we will have the likes of Sun Pharma up, but I'm going to pull up that list of all the stocks which are seeing substantial increase in open interest. And as I was suggesting, an 18% increase in open interest for Sun Pharma towards shorts, even as the stock tumbles by as much as 8%. We also have Torrent Pharma, Jubilant Foodworks, and Ashok Leyland in focus. Ashok Leyland, of course, reacting to the November sales numbers where the volumes were substantially lower than the expectations. And Escorts is the other one, which is advancing by around less than 1%, but there's been a 10% increase in open interest towards longs. So keep an eye on that. Jubilant Foodworks, of course, is advancing on your increase in as much as 11%. So longs there. In unwinding, there is only Kajaria Ceramics where we've seen some sort of decline in open interest even as the stock advances. Chennai Petro, on the other hand, is seeing long unwinding coming through. So those are some of the stocks that we can watch out for on the back of changes in open interest. But Darshan, what are the other stocks on your radar?
Yeah, so there are three stocks that I want to talk about. First of all, it's the metal pack, which is rallying in trade. Obviously, what came out of the G20 summit was the fact that there will be no escalation as far as tariffs are concerned. China is doing well across the board. Metals have rallied. Iron and steel in China are up anywhere between 3 to 5% in trade. So that's the traction that you're seeing in. There is traction that's coming in on the metal stock. The second stock that I want to talk about is Dr. Reddy's. Now, when the entire pharma pack is down in trade, Dr. Reddy's hit a fresh 52-week high in trade today. It's come off the highs of the day, but nevertheless looks the strongest among the other pharma names. When Sun is down almost 10%, and the other counters like Wockhardt and Strides and all are also down in trade. And the final stock I want to talk about is Escorts. Came out with strong set of numbers. The rally continues. It was trading slightly weak in the morning, but open interest built up is decent, 10%. So among the auto name, looks rather strong in trade. Just two other things that I just wanted to point out. First of all, pull up Motherson Sumi. Donald Trump has actually tweeted that China has agreed to reduce and remove tariffs on cars coming into China from the US currently, and the tariff currently is at 40%. So there is high traction that's seen on Motherson Sumi, so that's gaining in trade. And the second one is the Ashok Leyland numbers that have just flashing on your screen. November sales at 13,000 units versus 14,500 that last time, and the expectation was also in excess of 14,000. So weak set of numbers coming in, and Ashok Leyland is down 4% in trade. Agam, what are you having for us?
Okay, well, I'm going to take a look at something like your Jubilant Foodworks, because that's been in focus considering we have seen an advance in open interest there and towards longs too. And continues to advance, one of the stronger counters in the retail and food and beverages space. Of course, we'll be watching out for that. And the other one is Kajaria Ceramics, which is seeing unwinding coming through. An interesting one, considering we have seen a lot of volatility in a whole host of some of these, building products companies, and Kajaria Ceramics was one of them, currently at around 453, and there's been unwinding. In fact, this unwinding number has now reduced further as against what we saw earlier in the morning at around 2%. Now it's down to just about 1.6%. So those are the two other stocks that I'm watching out for, Darshan.
So, I didn't know Ashok Leyland was part of your list, so sorry for that. I just saw the numbers that came in and I addressed it. But we will get much more stocks to talk about from our F&O experts. So let's welcome our experts at this point of time. First of all, it's Amar Singh of Angel Broking and Abhijit Phatak of Definedge Solutions join us on the show. Abhijit, I'll start with you. Good morning. What's the trend? Will we hit 11,000 on the Nifty today, and what's the strategy that you have for us?
Good morning, Darshan. The trend is still bullish, no doubt about it. But whether will we hit 11,000, that is something I don't think anyone can say. But I'm looking at 10,920, 930 on the Nifty spot, which crossed briefly but has come down again. And if it closes above 10,930 on the spot, then the target will be about 11,150 on the spot.
Okay, let's get in Amar Singh as well. Amar, good morning to you. What's your view of the markets and how would you play and employ derivatives here?
Yeah, I would say very good morning. I would say that Nifty has definitely opened with a gap up. So that shows the strength, and also the global factors have been one of the major reasons. And technically looking at the charts, I would say the hourly charts, the short-term charts, they are clearly displaying some bearish divergence on the charts. So that reflects that Nifty would find it slightly higher to trade above 10,940, 950, because if that is taken out, then definitely we'll see the 11,000 mark. However, what we are seeing is that earlier the 10,700 to 800, 750 to 800, that was a key technical resistance zone. So that has been taken out. So now that becomes a crucial level of support. So 10,750, 800, now that becomes a crucial level of support. And but I would suggest that one should definitely trade with caution, because if you look at the weekly charts, they clearly reflect that there could be some topping out going forward. So as I said, from a short-term perspective, it needs to breach the 10,930, 940 level. If that is breached today, then we could see an upside rally towards the 11,000 mark.
Abhijit, if someone wants to play the indices of the Nifty and the Bank Nifty, which one would you suggest and why?
I would suggest maybe a call option in Nifty, maybe 11,100, which is near 100, 110. And with of course, the stop loss is a bit lower, because since it has gapped up, maybe Friday's high or something like 10,850 on the futures can be kept at the stop loss. And if it closes above 1095, then it can be 930, it can be carried forward.
Okay, let's talk about stocks then. Abhijit, I'm going to come back to you. What stocks are you keeping an eye, or what's on your radar?
Yeah, I have two longs. One is Torrent Power, which can be bought near 270, 265 on any dip. With a stop loss of 260, I believe it can go towards 300 or maybe even 330 going forward. And another stock which is bullish is Titan, which is with a stop loss of 920. Right now it is 929. So on any dip it can be bought. And if it does not breach 920, it can go towards 950, 960.
Okay, what about you, Amar? Which are the stocks that you would want to recommend for today?
Yeah, the first one is from the Pharma pack, and that is Divi's Laboratories. If you look at it, Divi's technically it's extremely strong on the long term as well as the intermediate term trend. And however, on the short term charts, we've been seeing some profit booking coming into, and the stock moving into oversold territory. Today it has bounced back sharply. So I would suggest that any dip towards 1455 levels, currently it's around 1465 or so. So any dip towards 1455 can be used to initiate a long position with a stop loss of 1419 and a target of 1540 on the upside. So that's the first one. And the second one is to look from the FMCG space, and that is Colgate-Palmolive. What we are seeing here is that this stock continues to be extremely strong on the short term as well as the intermediate and long term. It did consolidate, but again has bounced back. So this is one stock one can definitely look at. So any pullback towards 1230, 1235, ideally that can be a good level to buy with a stop loss of 1197 and target of 1310 on the upside.
Okay, let's highlight some of the few stocks that are buzzing in trade. First of all, Motherson Sumi is up almost 5%. We just told you the reason why it's doing well. Amar, what's your strategy on Motherson Sumi? It's been one of the weakest auto anch counters of late. Does this indicate that there is a breakout trade, or would you avoid Motherson Sumi?
I would say that if you look at Motherson Sumi, we are definitely seeing positive divergence on the daily chart. So that's one that clearly indicates that a bottom has been formed for Motherson Sumi. The second, on the weekly charts, it is showing some resistance coming around 165, 166. So I would say that 165, 170, that would be a crucial level of resistance for that. Yes, if that is taken out, then the stock is headed higher towards 180, 190 levels.
Okay, the other one is Jubilant FoodWorks because it's actually making a dash towards its 100 DMA right now, and it has actually surpassed its 200 DMA just a few days ago. It's currently at around 1300, and its open interest is up as much as 12%. So this is a clear case of longs building into the system right now. Abhijit, what would you do with Jubilant FoodWorks right now, and what levels would you watch out for?
Yeah, Jubilant Foods is strong, and with the stop loss a bit far off, which is about 1250, which is today's low. It can go towards 1400 in the near term.
What about Ashok Leyland, Abhijit? That looks rather weak in today's trade.
Ashok Leyland is weak, and if it goes below 100, 105, the nearest support I am seeing is 95. I'm not sure whether that will happen, but it is definitely not a long candidate right now. So we'll have to see if 105 is breached on a closing basis. Then it can go towards 95 also.
Okay, let's pull up Kajaria Ceramics as well, because that's something that I've been talking about. That has seen a bout of short covering, at least as far as the futures and options space is concerned. Amar, can you come in on this one? How would you approach Kajaria Ceramics?
Yeah, looking at Kajaria Ceramics, technically on the charts, it is looking positive on the weekly. What's happening on the monthly, it's moving from oversold territory, so that means that is finding some support. But I would say that Kajaria is going to meet with extremely strong resistance around 465, 470 zone. So that is a level one should definitely look at booking profits, because if that is not taken out, then we could see some correction in the stock towards 430 mark.
Abhijit, would you venture a bet into any of the NBFCs? Today you're seeing that Indiabulls Housing Finance is up 5%. Over the past few days, you've seen that Bajaj Finance has managed to inch up. Would you place your bet in any of the NBFCs at this point of time?
Yes, Bajaj Finance is definitely looking bullish. I would not like to go into Indiabulls, but Bajaj Finance with a stop loss below today's low, it is a bit far, but on any dip it can be bought.
All right, that's your view on Bajaj Finance. Let's also pull up Ramco Home Finance, which was actually just seen a lot of strength in the previous trading session. Of course, this was a little bit of a recovery too. Now today it's seeing some amount of weakness. It's down 1.6%. There's very little change in open interest, but it is currently at around 363, 364. Amar, how would you deal with Ramco Home Finance now? It's been very volatile, but we did see that strong advance last Friday.
Yeah, I would say that the stock continues to be in a downtrend. Only the positive factor is that across different time frames, it is in oversold territory, and it did bounce back from a key support level. That's the reason we are seeing this technical bounce back. But I would be cautious on this stock, because at higher levels, I would say close to 380, 385, that would be a selling pressure selling zone for this particular stock. So I would say that rather stay away from this stock. Okay,
let's get in all the viewer queries and let's get them answered. First of all, Bala Kumar on YouTube, he has a Century Textile Futures at 926. I believe he's bought it. And a Biocon 650 call at 16 rupees 90 paise. What's the view? So, Amar, I'll start with you. Let's talk about Century Textile first. 926 is where he bought Century Textiles. What should he do?
I would say that he should hold on to his position. What he needs to remember is that technically this is a resistance level. Currently, I would say 925. 930, that's a very crucial resistance zone for Century Textiles. If that is taken out, then it is going to rally significantly higher towards 960, 965 levels. On the downside, I would say somewhere around 900 odd level, that's a crucial support zone. Technically, it's looking positive on the charts, weekly as well as the short term. Monthly, it's in oversold territory, so there is a possibility. So you should watch out for 925 and 930 zone. If that is taken out, then it is definitely headed higher.
Okay.
And
yeah, please go on.
And talking about Biocon, because I believe he has a position in Biocon as well, a call option in Biocon. Biocon is currently, it's completely flat. That is, it's trading range bound for quite some time now. So I would suggest that he can hold, and if it breaches the 630, 35 levels, then it could be headed higher. But otherwise, if it does not breach within a day or two, then he should ideally move out of this call position.
Abhijit, if we can also come to you on Biocon, how are you reading these levels right now, and what are you watching out for?
Yeah, I agree with the level on Biocon. Biocon has a support on the 200 weekly moving average, which is just below 600, but it has resistance near 630, which is the 200 daily moving average. So between this 600, 630, it might remain range bound, but on a close above 630, it can go towards 650, 660.
Okay. Well, it's a tough day for those who are holding Sun Pharma, longs in Sun Pharma, considering that drop in its underlying currently at around 458. We have a question from Praveen Dugar. Good idea to hold Sun Pharma for the long term. Now, this seems to me like it's a fundamental query. And of course, Praveen, I would actually ask Darshan to tell you about the updates here. But before we actually go to the technical guys, Darshan, why don't you just let Praveen know about what's really going wrong, and if it means substantially bad for his fundamentals?
Yeah, so basically what happened on Sun Pharma was the fact that a few days ago, 27th of November, was when the Macquarie sales note came in, highlighting some issues in terms of some of the insider trading, some of the corporate issues that came out. The counter reacted but negatively on that day, but managed to recover. Now, over the weekend, PTI and Moneylife have filed stories in terms of the SEBI insider trading. So what has happened is that the PTI report indicates is that SEBI is looking to reopen the old Ranbaxy case, insider case against the Sun Pharma promoters. They were let off by paying a fine. They said they will reopen that. And secondly, Moneylife saying that there is one more allegation of insider trade where a 150 pager has been submitted to SEBI indicating all the insider trading issues at Sun Pharma. So that's why it's reacted negatively to trade.
So that's as far as the fundamentals are concerned, Praveen. But if you want a technical view here as well, I'll toss it over to Amar. Amar, I take that you would avoid taking any long positions, yet what are the levels you would ask the viewer to keep an eye on?
I would say that looking at Sun Pharma somewhere, because if you look at it, I'm looking at from a very long-term perspective. So if you look at it, last year's low was somewhere around 432, and currently it's around 458. And if you look at it in, I would say 2013 itself, again it was close to these levels. The low was significantly lower at around 347. So what it effectively means is that one should watch out for 430 on the downside, because today also it's bounced back from lower 435 levels. So 430 is a very crucial support zone. If that is taken out, then the stock is definitely going lower towards the 400 mark.
Okay, Siddharth Rawat wants a view on Jubilant FoodWorks. He's shorted 2 lots of Jubilant FoodWorks at 1297. What should his strategy be? Abhijit, what's your view on Jubilant FoodWorks? He shorted at 1927. It's almost 7-8 rupees higher than where he shorted. Should he stay short, or should he square his position?
Like I said earlier, Jubilant Foods is strong on the charts and is definitely headed higher. But problem is stop loss for longs is very far off, which is 1250. On a very short term, if it was an intraday trade, he can use the day high at the stop loss, but I'm not in favor of any shorts in Jubilant Food right now.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one. We have Kishore, and his query is on Bharat Forge. He says that he's bought the Bharat Forge futures at 559. What should the stop loss be if I wish to hold? Let's take a look at the futures. It's currently at around 562.85. So roughly about 3 to 4 points higher than his entry price. There's not too much change in its underlying. Amar, what would you advise Kishore to do with his position on Bharat Forge?
I would say that technically looking at the charts, Bharat Forge continues to remain weak. So that's the reason any pullback is being used as a shorting opportunity. However, what he can do is he can use today's low. Below that, he can hold on to his position, or ideally below 554, that could be a technical level. He can hold on to his position. But I would suggest that if he gets an opportunity to exit, he should definitely exit, because till the time the stock does not trade above 565 levels, I would say the stock could meet with some further selling pressure.
Okay, Urmila Salve wants to know whether it's a good idea to buy the Nifty 11,000 December call. I believe Abhijit had indicated an 11,100 call if position to be taken between the Nifty and the Bank Nifty. So Amar, I'll come to you. Should Urmila buy the 11,000 call on the Nifty?
I would say that one should rather wait for buying a call, because for the simple reason is that, as I said, technically Nifty is approaching a very crucial resistance zone, and even on the intermediate term trend, there is a possibility that we could see some further correction, some selling or some profit booking coming into the market. So I would rather suggest that stay away, at least till the time we don't see Nifty consistently trading above the 10,940, 950 mark.
Okay, well, we have Rohan K. He wants to watch. He wants levels on Asian Paints and Axis Bank. Let's take one after another. Let's pull up Asian Paints first and see where that one's currently trending. Not trending actually. It's marginally in the red. Not too much change in open interest either. But it has strengthened considering that correction in crude that we've seen over the previous few days. It's currently at around 1,348. And not too much to speak for otherwise. Amar, I'll come back to you on this one. What are you doing with Asian Paints?
I would say that Asian Paints definitely is positive on the charts across different time frames. So that's the reason we are seeing the stock consolidate. But and still there is this bullish momentum which continues on the daily charts. But the hourly chart somewhere, it is clearly reflecting that on the upside 1360, 1365. That's acting as a crucial resistance zone. But yes, any dip can be used as a buying opportunity. Ideally, a good level to buy somewhere around 1320 odd levels if there is a correction towards that, with a stop loss below 1300, a target of 1370 on the upside.
Okay, and the other one is of course Axis Bank. Now again, this one hasn't moved too much. It's been largely range bound for the month of November, hanging out between 600 and 630 odd. It's currently at around 629. That's where its December futures are quoting, and very little change in open interest. It's risen ever so slightly by as much as 5% through the course of the last 1 month. Abhijit, what would you advise the viewer to do with Axis Bank?
Yes, as you said, it is range bound between 600 and 630, 35. For going long, I would wait for a close clearly above 635. And after that, it will be very bullish. It can head towards 700. But this is not the level to go long. In fact, intraday, it can be a short near 632, 633 with a stop loss above 636. But on a close above that, it is a clear long.
Okay, Vivek Kanoja wants a view on Ashok Leyland. He's asking whether he should go long or short on Ashok Leyland. The numbers for November monthly sales came out, which were rather weak in trade, almost a miss by close to 1,000 units. Well, I'll go to you, Amar. What should he do on Ashok Leyland?
I would say that looking at the technical pattern of Ashok Leyland, clearly it still continues to be in a sell mode. That's the reason we are seeing some selling pressure. However, the stock is witnessing some bullish divergence on the daily chart, so one should watch out for 105 on the downside, because that's a short-term bottom for this stock. If that's not breached, then one can look at some buying opportunity. But for any significant rally, the stock needs to trade above 112 levels.
Okay, I think we have one more query, and this one is on Indian Oil Corp. We have a YouTube user who wants to know if it's a good idea to buy the IOC 140 November put. Let's pull up IOC, see what it's doing right now. Take a look at this particular put perhaps, and see whether or not there has been a big change. If we can have that on your screen. And if we can't, we can at least pull up the futures for IOC and take a look at how that one is trending. It's currently at about 131, 132 odd. It is declining by around 1.2%, and its open interest has increased nearly 3%. So some amount of shorts certainly building in. The viewer has not mentioned, okay, so he just wants to know whether or not it's a good idea to go long on the 140 November put, which is in the money right now. Abhijit, would you advise the viewer to go long and buy this 140 put right now?
Yes, IOC is weak, but I don't understand why he wants to buy such a deep in the money put when stock is at 131. If he is bearish, he can buy a 130 put instead of 140 put. And 130 put with a stop loss on the futures above 135 can be taken.
Okay, we'll take the final query now. One of them, Devnarayan Bhattacharya, wants a view on Ramco Cement. Abhijit, you can take this one. What's your view on Ramco Cement?
Let me look at the chart.
Yeah.
We can pull up Ramco Cement in the meantime. It's at around 614. And, well, again, 1% increase in open interest. Yes, please, Abhijit, please go on.
Yeah, Ramco Cement has shown some strength from 600 towards current 610, 15, 20. But it needs a close above 625 to show some strength. And after that, it will be bullish, a close above 620.
Okay, guys. That's the view on Ramco Cement, and with that, I'm going to take a moment to thank both our experts, Abhijit as well as Amar, for taking us through their views as well as solving some of our viewer queries. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the F&O Show. But for more news and updates, stay tuned to Bloomberg.